Are you surprised that Brendan took the stand? Do you believe that actually might help your case a little bit?
Yes. I, having been a defense attorney for years, I think I would have counseled against him taking the stand. But, Mr. Carroll didn't have a lot to work with. And at the end of the day, if his client wanted to testify, he had the absolute right to do so.
What was the thinking behind giving Juliana such a sweetheart deal?
So I wouldn't necessarily describe it as a sweetheart deal. She does face 10 years in prison. That has not yet been determined. It is obviously a reduction, and it is certainly reflective of her cooperation. But in order to encourage her to tell the truth, there had to be something. I think that the agreement that she entered into will hopefully allow for the judge to pass judgment on her in a way that is measurable. It will certainly never account for the lives that she was responsible for taking, but I think that the amount of time that she'll serve will be determined by Judge Ascarati, and I'm sure it will be appropriate.
So she hasn't agreed to your recommendation?
Correct. The judge is free to sentence her as she chooses within the statutory limitations.
It's 10 years, even the max is still a gift, right, for someone who's plotted and set up Christine and Joe Ryan. And there's a lot of violence in this murder.
That is absolutely true.
Thank you, Jenna.
Yeah.
I also wanted to add to this. You guys have access to Jenna if you have more questions for her. But no, I think it's really, really important that we don't characterize this as a quote-unquote sweetheart deal. This is the work of being a prosecutor. She still is taking accountability for homicides. When you take a look at what the relative culpability is, I think that where we have landed is appropriate. And quite frankly, Juliana, by testifying, answered a lot of questions, not only for us, but for the jury. Let's not forget how important her testimony may have been to some of those jurors. So her still facing up to 10 years in prison is very, very significant and well worth the cost to make sure that Brendan Banfield was convicted for a crime where it is a mandatory life sentence. As the law is written right now, Brendan Banfield will not walk free for the rest of his natural life.
Steve, is there anything else that, a lot of times, evidence does not get into a trial? Mm-hmm. What else should people know about this guy?
Oh, you're right.
That you were not able to present to the jury that had convinced you guys he was guilty?
Well, I hate to disappoint you. But for us, the evidence spoke volumes. We got our evidence in, what we thought was important, and I think that, in many ways, we're proud that we let the evidence speak for itself. So there's not really a lot of things that were outside the purview of the jury that led us to some kind of conclusion about what he did or what he did not do. We take a lot of pride, and we know the police take a lot of pride in following the evidence wherever it leads.
What do you hope Brendan Banfield is sitting in there thinking about right now?
I've always, I've been a prosecutor for, almost 15 years now. And I think about what goes through somebody's mind after they've been found guilty. And, quite frankly, my hope with this is that he realizes he didn't get away with it. And I know that sounds cliche, but I think through the evidence you can see a lot of things that he set up trying to get away with it, thinking that he was going to beat the system, trying to outsmart everybody. I hope he thinks that, and most of all, though, I hope he thinks about his wife and Joe and about what a heinous thing he did, because that's something that he is rightfully going to have to live with for the rest of his life. Any other? Yes, please.
I was just wondering, the references
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, were the relatives there also related to Joe?
Or any Ryan relatives?
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, they weren't here today, but they have been in the courtroom.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Sorry.
Steve,
Yeah.
rare to have cameras in the courtroom here in Virginia, particularly in a criminal case. A whole big part of the world watching this.
Yeah.
What do you hope the takeaway is for people who've been watching this incredibly salacious story here in our neighborhood? What do you hope the takeaway is for all these people that have been watching this play out?
Yeah, that's a great question, Drew. I think there are a couple takeaways that I hope they come away with. First of all, trials and this world, it's not Law and Order. It doesn't happen in half an hour. It's not black and white. There's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of nuance. So I want them to understand what this work is. But I think the one thing I want people in this community to take away from is they got to see their justice system in action. right? They don't have to read about it, they get to see it. And I hope what they saw is a modern professional prosecutor's office doing a job with a very, very difficult case. I mean, the forensics, the blood, all of these things are very, very difficult to parse, to talk about, to explain to a jury. And the team behind me, quite frankly, they made it look easy. And I think that really speaks to the level of professionalism, not only in the prosecutor's office, but with the courts generally, as well as the investigation of the county police department, which is top notch.
Steve, how about cameras in the courtroom all the time?
Bob, I love it. I honestly, I would not be opposed. We are proud of the work that we do here as the law enforcement apparatus in Fairfax County. We have nothing to hide. I would love everybody to see every one of our trials and see what goes into the decision making. We do almost 20,000 cases a year. And for people to really understand the nuance and how we agonize over a lot of these decisions to try to do justice, I think that would be great for this community to see.
Thanks.
Any other questions? No?
Just one more.
Yes.
Sorry. The plan was very out of the normal realm or very extraordinary. Did you ever get any sense as to how this plan came about? Do you have any? Seriously, that's what most of
Well,
are asking, right?
I gotta say, it might be glib, but you if you watch the trial, you might have been able to see it. But in all seriousness, no, we just have the evidence, and quite frankly, our job is to follow the evidence. And we heard what Juliana said, we heard what Brendan said. Those are our clues into what happened. But at the end of the day, we presented the evidence to the jury. And we're just very, very pleased that we're able to stand here knowing that we got justice for Joe and Christine.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it, guys.